From Homeless to Millionaire, a black man's journey inspired by Elon Musk and Donald Trump. You won't believe this. Right in the heart of the city, tangled between glass skyscrapers and cracked sidewalks, a black man who was once homeless just shot up to millionaire status. Yeah, no joke. And get this, his secret wasn't some boring office job or lucky lottery ticket. It was a wild mix of street hustle and the weirdest kind of inspiration. You'll never guess. Elon Musk and Donald Trump. I'm serious. A street sleeper, drawing scraps by day, listening to podcasters at night, dreaming big. The city buzzed with gossip about this mystery man who flicked the game. But here's the catch. Nobody knew the whole story. Think midnight art sales under flickering lampposts. Paint-stained fingers trembling from cold and hunger. Faces full of doubt, locking eyes with him, whispering, "Why's he still here?" Yet his art was different. Raw, screaming truth, like a punch in the gut. His stuff caught. Walls that were once just blank now carried his story, sharp and painful, daring people to look harder. Then, one rain-soaked evening, as the city's chaos swirled, horns blaring, sirens wailing, people pushing past each other in muffled anger, he met her. A black homeless woman, standing in the cold with her paintings spread on a ragged blanket. But her eyes, they burned with something fierce, almost haunted. Her hands, rough, cracked, worked magic on canvas that seemed to bleed out pain and hope all at once. It hit him fast, like a slap. The kind you don't see coming, but feel deep inside. Here was someone who mirrored his own fight, struggling against hunger, against judgment, against a world set to ignore them. But she wasn't just struggling, she was fighting to be seen, and the city snubbed her like she was invisible. People passed without a glance, or dropped coins that barely covered a coffee. The weight in Carter's chest exploded. He felt furious, guilty, like every dollar he'd made sat heavy in his pocket, twisting with shame. He wanted to step in, to help her, to pull her out of the gutter. But the city, his own family's name, stood like a wall in his way. Shattered, old secrets lingered, bias running deep. Whispers about his lineage that no shiny suit or fancy speech could erase. His family's benevolence had cracks darker than the streets outside their offices. And then he found out there was another player quietly circling, a rival investor, slick and ruthless, smelling an easy cash grab. This shadowy figure was ready to snatch the woman's talent, treat her like a product for profit, not a person. The rivalry wasn't just about money. It was a battle for her soul, her art, and the meaning of his own success. Carter's world shifted. He wrestled with his fears, his blind spots, the lies he'd told himself. The woman's paintings lingered in his mind, each brushstroke a question. Was success just about dollars? Or was there something deeper? Compassion, truth, the guts to stand up and fight, no matter the cost. Then, just when Carter thought he was beginning to understand her, something snapped loose. A secret from her past came crashing out. A truth so startling, it shattered every idea he had about their lives, the city, and the divide between rich and poor. What was that secret? And how deep did the shadows stretch between them before they even met? The answer might change everything. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important warning. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube removed their subscriptions without notice. Take a quick look at the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I don't want you to miss any exclusive content that's coming. And since you're here, drop a powerful like that really helps me with the algorithm. Oh, and let me know in the comments, what city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's interact. Carter felt the world around him collapse. It was more than just a revelation. It was shattering. As the woman's layered canvases blurred in his mind, something deep inside him shifted. He took a step closer, the chill of the evening creeping in, binding them both in shared struggle. Yet, just as he gathered his courage to speak, to reach out for that raw flame flickering in her eyes, a sudden shout sliced through the cacophony. "Get away from her!" Everyone turned. The angry voice belonged to a bald man, red-faced and trembling, eyes sharply focused on Carter. "You think you can just take her? You think you're better than us?" The man's voice dripped with disdain, accusing. But it wasn't just the words. It was the wild energy erupting from the crowd, the whispers intensifying, slashing like blades. Carter's heart raced. "No, he started. But his voice got swallowed by the uprising emotions around them. Some murmured in disgust, others shrank back in fear. Carter looked at the woman, met her fiery gaze, and saw that pain mixed with something else. Trust? Fear? Then, on instinct, he placed a hand on her shoulder, a gesture desperately meant to comfort, to show solidarity. The moment deepened, and she didn't flinch. But just then, the bald man lunged forward, shoving Carter's hand away. "You don't care about her. You're just another rich guy looking for a trend." The woman gasped, "Please, don't." But it fell on deaf ears. The man grabbed her paintings, the canvas clutched in his fists, tears splattering the artwork. It hurt to watch. Every brushstroke was part of her, a piece of her soul torn apart. And then, without warning, the street erupted. Ka-thunk! A loud crash echoed. A car had plowed into a couple of trash cans nearby, sending metal flying. The roar of sirens joined the chaos. People screamed, scrambling back, panic seizing the city like a vice. The man who'd assaulted Carter stumbled, losing his grip on the paintings, which fluttered wild in the wind. Carter's heart hammered. "Wait!" he shouted. But the man was lost in the crowd, fear fueling his flight. The woman scrambled to her feet, but stumbled, torn between chasing after her art and the chaos swirling around them. "Your paintings!" Carter yelled, but she was frozen, staring into the distance as if a ghost had surfaced. Suddenly silence crashed down. The noise of the crowd faded, leaving only the thump of Carter's heartbeat echoing in his ears. The woman fell to her knees, eyes wide as if she had seen the unbearable. Then she let out a strangled cry, a sound raw and barren. "Something's wrong," she whispered, her voice shaking, tracing the shadows across her face, a flicker of realization twisting her features. "What?" "Tone, what's happening?" Carter managed, dread pooling in the pit of his stomach. She looked at him, her gaze pierced through the madness, raw vulnerability bared wide open. It can't be. Not him. Carter's breath caught. A gut-wrenching twist shot through him. Who? Then it hit him. A name, a specter rising from the depths of his nightmares. Her past, somehow intertwined with his own family's legacy, but deeper, darker. Was that why he felt so drawn to her? Suddenly, the truth was no longer a distant question, but a looming specter above them. The crowd held its breath, all eyes on the two of them. The city hushed, waiting for the verdict. "It's my brother," she gasped, hands trembling as the truth crushed her spirit. He did this. He's the reason. I don't know how, but it's him." Shock rolled through Carter like a tidal wave. The weight of their worlds shifted, everything they thought they knew unraveling. The gallery of their harsh reality twisted into a dizzying maze. Wait, what? The words felt jagged, each a struggle to swallow, and in that instant, as the sirens wailed closer, reality itself began to warp. The connection they thought they shared splintered. Confusion became panic, and the truth loomed heavier than ever, the air electric with tension. Where did they go from here? What now? The questions spiraled, and the darkness felt ever closer, like a predator circling its prey. The more he grasped at the threads of understanding, the more they slipped away. Carter couldn't shake the weight of that secret, inching closer, swirling in the air like the damp city fog. He stood there, heart hammering, waiting for the woman to share another piece of her world. It felt like a magnetic pull, each brushstroke of her paintings whispering stories he was desperate to know. But just as she began to speak, a blaring siren cut through the night. The city felt alive, but in a way that made his skin crawl. Suddenly, chaos erupted. A street fight broke out just meters away. Men shouting, fists flying, people streaming to escape the madness. Carter's eyes darted between the woman and the unfolding drama, feeling helpless. Then the woman turned abruptly, her gaze piercing through the chaos. "Carter, look!" she shouted, urgency in her voice. He whipped around, adrenaline thrumming in his veins. A figure stumbled, caught in the scuffle. A man appeared from the shadows, face twisted in anger, eyes glinting like shards of glass. Then, a glint of metal. Panic strangled him. Was that a knife? The air felt electric, charged with impending danger. Before he could react, the man lunged fully into the light. But instead of a stranger, shock jolted through him. It was someone he knew, someone from the opulent corners of his past. Blake, the very investor looking to snatch this woman's talent, had just emerged from the night like a demon ready to strike. Confusion sliced through Carter. They'd grown up in the same circles, shared the same silver spoons. But here he was, ready to exploit. The woman's face paled. "Carter, I know," Carter snapped, heart racing. "We need to move." But before he could grab her arm, the fight escalated. A punch landed with a sickening thud, and Blake, with a whirl of his jacket, stepped right into the fray. Carter's gut twisted. Was it a game for him? His heart pounded in his ears as Blake fought like a man possessed, like he reveled in the chaos. Then came the twist. A gunshot echoed, sharp and final through the clamor. Time froze. Faces turned in horror. The world narrowing down to that single, horrifying sound. Carter's breath caught. He felt a crushing weight on his chest, his reality shattering like glass. The piercing shock came when he recognized the voice that screamed. It was Blake, eyes wide with panic. "What have I done?" He staggered back, clutching his arm, blood oozing dark and slick. The woman gasped, stepping forward in a rush. "Carter, he needs help!" But Carter saw something darker beneath Blake's wide eyes. It wasn't just fear. It was a raw glimpse into a twisted depth he had never seen before. Was Blake really there to fight? Or was this all a show? He felt it then, a sickening realization. This wasn't just about the woman or her art. This was about the patterns they both navigated. The web of connections that went deeper than he could ever comprehend. Carter staggered back, the revelation stunning him. Everything he thought was clear now felt tangled, like the streets outside. Who was the real enemy? What did this all mean? And just as he gathered himself, ready to confront the truth, another voice pierced through. The woman's, cold and unwavering. "Carter, there's something you don't know." The city around them closed in, the electricity of the moment crackling. The past, the present, all ready to collide in one devastating twist, ready to unfold into chaos. The air turned heavy with unshakable tension, and he braced himself for whatever was about to come. Carter stood there, heart pounding, waiting for the woman to finish her sentence. The chaos around them felt muted, like the crowd had faded into a forgotten background noise. Her eyes looked deeper, shadows and light mixing in a dance of fear and something else. "What don't I know?" he pressed, the urgency echoing in his voice. He needed clarity, needed a thread to pull them both from the dark. She took a shaky breath, her lips parting, trembling. "Carter, my brother, he's not who you think." Before she could explain, Blake staggered back, clutching his wound, confusion battling with panic. The crowd shifted, whispers swirling like leaves caught in a storm. Carter tried to keep his focus on her, tried to drown out the noise around them. "Not who I think. Who is he then?" "Not just a brother," she whispered, eyes wide. "He's your brother too." His breath caught. The world spun around them, screeching to a halt. "What? That can't be." The crowd erupted, voices rising like a tide, jeering, gasping as the revelation hit. Carter's body froze, his thoughts crashed into each other. Memories of family dinners, stifled laughter, secrets buried beneath polished floors. "You're lying." "No, listen," her voice cracked, cutting through the chaos. "I wish I were. My mother, she met your father. They had an affair." He stumbled back as the realization slammed into him like a brick wall. Shame flooded his cheeks. "My father?" The wealthy charm, the polished smile, the legacy. Was it all a lie? Blake, inches away, yanked his shirt to stop the bleeding. "Why are you telling him this now?" he spat, frantic eyes darting back and forth. "You're risking everything." "No," she shot back. It's time he knew the truth. Carter blinked, scrambling to find a thread of logic. The city swirled around him, but his mind was locked in a loop. His whole life, family, privilege, the unearned success. These dreams began to morph into a nightmare. "What does this mean?" he shouted, desperation creeping in. "It means," she continued, her voice rising above the crowd, "we share blood. You and I are connected in ways you couldn't even start to understand. Your father, my brother, they did this. To me, to us." Electricity crackled in the air. It felt like the universe shifted, reality teetering on the edge. The crowd held its breath, no longer a tapestry of faces, but a single tableau of shock. Eyebrows raised, mouths agape, every piercing gaze pointed at them. Suddenly, sirens wailed closer, the raucous sounds mingling with the heartbreak of truth. Carter's heart raced, forks of fear ripping through him. Blake, regaining some composure, locked eyes with Carter, a cruel smirk creeping onto his face, layered with a cocky twist of pride. "This is a family affair now, isn't it? Both sides of your family tangled up in this chaos." Carter felt dizzy, a bitter taste settling in his mouth. He looked back at the woman, her history crashing into his. Her sorrow felt like his own, deep and palpable. But then from the back, a shout broke the turbulent air. "Get down!" a police officer shouted as footsteps thundered closer. Carter turned just in time to see figures breaking through the crowd, armored and fierce, pouring in with authority like shadows swallowing light. Fear pierced through him. "What now? Are they coming for us?" He glanced back at her, their eyes locking again, the truth fueling a silent connection. Did she feel it too? The bond forged by secrets, a twisted legacy threatening to shatter them both? As officers shouted orders, the moment hung heavy with suspense, threatening to explode. Where do they go from here? What happens next? The questions spiraled, and the chaos felt poised for another eruption. The past and present were crashing like thunder, ready to reveal a storm no one was prepared for. Carter's mind raced, a whirlwind of thoughts crashing into each other. The woman, the fire in her eyes, they haunted him. What secret lay behind that fierce gaze? And then, out of the blue, a loud crash split the night air. He jumped, heart pounding, as a figure stumbled into view. A man, high on something dangerous, barreled through the crowd. He was shouting, rage spilling from his lips like a broken dam. Carter couldn't make out the words, but they were sharp, jagged, something about betrayal, about lost dreams. All at once, the world around them felt like it was holding its breath. People stopped, eyes wide, frozen in a collective gasp. The man veered toward them. Carter locked eyes with the artist, their mutual shock evident. It felt like time slowed. But then that high man stumbled, and his eyes narrowed on the woman. "You think you can hide?" he yelled, voice like thunder, dragging the atmosphere down to a chilling silence. In a blink, confusion turned to horror. The man lunged, hands grabbing the woman's paintings, tearing them from the blanket. "It's all your fault," he screamed, his fury spilling over. "You took everything!" Carter lunged forward, adrenaline surging through him. He couldn't let this happen. He couldn't stand by while she lost everything. But as Carter reached for the man, something in the air shifted. Suddenly, the woman shouted back, her voice ripping through the chaos. "You don't get to claim me! I'm not yours!" The words cut deeper than any blade. The jagged tension grew, pulling everyone close, hearts thudding like drumbeats in the night. The man staggered back, stunned. His eyes shifted from the woman to Carter, recognition flickering. You think you're better than me?" he slurred, anger morphing to something darker. "You play the part of the hero?" His voice dropped, and for a moment, everything felt too close, too raw. In that split second, the woman's hand shot out, clutching tightly to the edge of her blanket. "This is my life," she snapped, her voice igniting the air between them. But then her face crumbled, the fierce fire faltering. "You don't understand." Her tone dropped, a shadow creeping over her features. "You're all?" Before she could finish, lights from a police car flooded the scene. Blue and red swirled everywhere. The high man turned and took off, weaving through the stunned crowd. Carter's heart dropped. He turned back to the woman, feeling the urgency flood back. "Wait! Tell me!" But she was already on her knees, breathing hard, her hands trembling. "You don't know what you're getting into." Her eyes glistened with pain, and for a fleeting second, he thought he saw tears fighting their way through. "What do you mean?" he asked, desperation clawing at his throat. "What's the secret?" Just then, a voice cut through the chaos. A tall, imposing figure stepped forward, a badge glinting under the flashing lights. "Carter Adams, is that you?" He squinted through the haze of commotion, recognition hitting him like a freight train. It was his estranged brother, Anthony, the one he hadn't spoken to in years. "What are you doing here?" And just like that, everything trembled, shattered. The connection, the rivalry, the fundraising, the art, all of it twisted into a new narrative. Was this chance encounter part of a larger picture? What threads bound them all together? "What do you know about her?" his brother asked, voice low, dangerous. Then he glanced at the woman again. "Maybe you should have stayed away, Carter." Carter's mind spun. Secrets unfurled like wildfire around him. What did his brother know? And what was it that could upend everything he thought he'd built? The walls felt like they were closing in, and the night hung heavy with unrealized potential. Everything unresolved, everything questioned. Carter's heart raced, heavy with all he had discovered about the woman's struggle, each pulse drumming against his chest like an alarm. The city hummed around him, oblivious to the conversation swirling just a few feet away. He was about to ask her about her art, to reach deeper into her story, when fate stepped in, crashing down like a storm. A screeching tire pierced the air, a deafening sound that made everyone freeze. Heads turned, mouths gaped, and before he could process what was happening, chaos unfolded before his eyes. A black SUV sped down the street, its engine roaring, tires screeching in a desperate attempt to find grip. It skinned around the corner, heading straight for them. "Move!" someone yelled, but it was too late. The world blurred into a frantic mess of colors and sounds. Then, crash! The vehicle slammed into a nearby food cart, sending vendors scrabbling and distributing free food onto the pavement. The force echoed like thunder. Carter's breath caught. All his instincts kicked in. His eyes darted to the woman, frozen in shock. Without thinking, he lunged toward her, grabbing her hand, pulling her out of harm's way just in time. They tumbled to the ground, landing hard on the unforgiving asphalt. But in that moment of chaos, everything changed. A figure stumbled out of the SUV, anger radiating off him like heat. It was the rival investor, the slick, ruthless man who'd been circling like a vulture, ready to snatch the woman's dream. But this time, there was more than greed in his eyes. There was recognition, an unsettling familiarity. "Carter?" The name rolled off the rival's tongue like venom. All color drained from Carter's face. He knew this man. Kyle Harris, his childhood friend, once a partner in crime, now a shark ready to bite. And then came the twist. You've got to be kidding me! You're fighting for her? She's nothing but a street artist. You've really lost your edge. Kyle's laughter was cold, cutting through the tension like a knife. Carter felt a surge of anger mixed with disbelief. She's a person, not some product for you to exploit. But Kyle wasn't done. You think this is about her? This is about us, Carter. You'd abandon everything we built? For what? Some hopeless dream? Every muscle in Carter's body tensed. Was that true? Did he have a choice? Was this fight really about art and humanity? Or was it another selfish act, jaded by guilt? The crowd had turned, whispering, judging. Faces etched with concern and confusion merged together, eyes wide with shock. Then, someone yelled, "What do you mean, us? Who is she to you?" Carter glanced back at the woman, her face pale, lips trembling. What darkness lay in her past? Who was she really? And what had Kyle meant? Just then, sirens wailed, cutting through the chaos, blaring a warning of what was to come. A knot formed in Carter's stomach as he felt the weight of a decision loom over him. Would he choose the safety of his past connection with Kyle, or take the leap into the unknown with her? The city pulsed. The moments stretched on. Tension thickened in the air like smoke. In all the noise, one thing became blaringly clear. Secrets were waiting to unfold, and choices had never felt heavier. Everything was about to explode, shatter, and change. What lay behind the woman's paint-stained fingers? And how deep did her connection to Kyle reach? The answers lingered in the air, heavy with possibility, waiting to unravel like the stories sprawled on unforgiving sidewalks. Carter's heart raced, the weight of the moment heavy on his chest. He thought he was getting closer to understanding her. But then, everything changed. The night air was damp, charged with energy. Rain dripped from the awnings overhead, and a sharp crack of thunder split the gloom. Just as he was about to ask her about the secret she hid, the ground beneath them shuddered. A distant rumble rolled through the streets like an angry beast waking from slumber. People lifted their heads, eyes darting in confusion. It couldn't be. But then the sound grew louder. Carter instinctively reached for her hand, wanting to pull her close. But she hesitated. Fear spread across her face, and then it happened. A screeching noise echoed, metal grinding against metal, a thrumming that made downtown tremble. An explosion. A fireball erupted from a few blocks away, bursting into a sky filled with dark clouds. The shockwave slammed into them. Carter stumbled, instinctively shielding her with his body. Glass shattered like 1,000 tiny stars raining down. The world he knew, the city they both inhabited, was suddenly a war zone. People screamed, their cries mingling with the humid chaos. He could barely think, adrenaline drowning out every rational thought. They both managed to get to their feet and run, weaving through the frantic crowd. Bodies jostled, strangers pressed against them in sheer panic. He could feel the heat on his back, a reminder of the explosion's fury. They found temporarily shelter behind a crumbling wall, gasping. He grabbed her shoulders, searching her face. "Are you okay?" Her eyes were wide, reflective pools of disbelief. No, I can't believe this. The distant sounds of sirens rose, blending into a symphony of dread. Then, amid the chaos, her voice dropped, almost a whisper. You don't understand. This isn't just random. He blinked at her, confusion swirling in his mind. What could she mean? But before he pressed for answers, she turned away, glancing up at the chaotic skyline, where flames clawed at the night. Carter, I have to tell you something. But before she could finish, a figure emerged through the smoke. Wild and desperate, it was the rival investor. Carter's stomach twisted. How could he be here now? Cheryl, the man shouted her name, and Carter's blood ran cold. Come with me. We can turn this into something big. They can't control us now. Cheryl's expression shifted. For a fleeting second, there was a flicker of recognition and fear. She shook her head. No, I'm not going with you. But the man took a step closer, his voice low and dangerous. You don't have a choice, not after this. Carter felt the ground beneath him shift as the chaos grew. The real fight was not just against the city, the money, or even the shadows of his own past. It was about Cheryl and the secret she held. A secret that, if revealed, could change everything. Carter, I need you to trust me, she cried as she backed away. Trust you? You're with him. No, she shouted, the tension in her voice sharp. Then, before he could grasp what happened, she turned and ran, disappearing into the smoke. A loss! The taste of betrayal clinging to his tongue. Carter stood frozen, mind racing, the world still spinning around him. What had he missed? What was the truth that could break apart their messy lives? Before he could catch his breath, a siren wailed closer, and he knew he had to decide. Pursue her into the darkness or let her slip away completely. In that fast, dim moment, everything spun out of control, transforming all he thought he knew. The answer loomed in the air, thick like the smoke, and he had to choose. But which path held salvation or doom? Carter stood frozen as the smoke curled around him, fear gripping his spine. Cheryl had disappeared into the chaos, lost in a world he desperately wanted to protect her from. Kyle's taunts echoed in his mind, the reminder of old ties lingering in the air. Dread settled thick in his chest. He had to make a choice, and he felt the seconds slip away like sand through his fingers. Cheryl! He called, voice hoarse. The crowd pulsed around him, panicked murmurs rising. Could she really be siding with Kyle? The thought twisted tightly within him, sharp and painful. In the chaos, someone pushed through, frantic and wide-eyed. It was a young woman, face streaked with soot, clutching what looked like a notebook to her chest. "Have you seen a man?" she shouted, desperation crinkling her brow. "He's my brother. I was supposed to meet him." Carter blinked, adrenaline pumping. No. But before he could finish, the woman's eyes widened even more. "He's here," she gasped, locking onto the shadows created by the flames. And just then, another figure emerged, stumbling over debris. A man covered in soot, wild-eyed and panic-stricken. "Leela! I!" He staggered up to the young woman, relief washing over his features, but it faded as his gaze landed on Carter. A recognition rippled through the air. "Carter!" he shouted, voice echoing through the panic. "You're the one!" "You're The one who's been. A collective hush fell over the crowd. Everyone turned, whispers nipping at the tension. Every gaze shifted to Carter. "What do you mean?" he asked, heart hammering, the sudden attention making it hard to think. Leela grabbed her brother's arm. "You know him? What's this about?" Carter's throat felt tight. Who was this guy? What did he know? But before he could argue or back away, the man leaned in, his voice trembling. "You're the one they've been looking for!" "What?" Carter snapped, but the weight of his words sank in like a stone. Something flickered in the air, a chilling realization. "What do you mean?" Suddenly, the ground shook again, not from the explosion this time, but from anger. Kyle stepped forward, eyes blazing with fury. "What is this? Who are you talking to, Carter? You've brought the shadows with you." "Shadows?" Carter echoed, chest tight, eyes darting back to Lila and her brother. But the brother didn't let up. "Listen, we know about you, about your family, and about what happened 2 decades ago!" He pointed an accusing finger. "You're connected to a web of lies bigger than you realize." A murmur raced through the crowd. The words hung heavy like smoke in a stagnant room. Carter felt disoriented. Was he really the center of this? Had he stumbled into something darker than he thought? "Affairs, betrayals," the brother continued, eyes wild. "You are not just some privileged kid. Your name is tied to her family." Carter's chest tightened like a vice. "What?" He looked at Cheryl's blank shadow in the distance, her absence throbbing like an open wound. "You don't know, do you?" Leela's brother's voice trembled. "Your parents, they didn't take just anyone in. She's connected to your father through a past he denied. You're standing in the middle of a family feud. You're just a pawn, Carter." Carter stepped back, feeling the ground shift under him like the truths of his life were crumbling into dust. He was tied into something that had instincts of its own, something generations deep. "Don't listen to him," Kyle spat, a cocky smile creeping back. "He's just trying to drop a bomb." "No!" Leela shouted over him, but the chaos gripped tighter around Carter like a vice, every second feeling like a countdown. "What do I do?" he whispered, glancing between both sides, feeling the tension fracture. "Join us." Leela's brother held out a hand, earnest and desperate. "Learn the truth about who you are. It's the only way." "Don't you dare!" Kyle yelled. But the crowd began to murmur, uncertainty wrapping around them all like vines. The air was electric, thick with lies that screamed for exposure. And then a loud bang erupted, shouts rising as people scattered away. From the shadows, another figure emerged, face concealed in darkness. "You all need to stop! This isn't what it seems!" As the figure stepped forward, Carter felt a chill crawl up his spine. The night held secrets that once whispered in dark corners, but now roared in the open. He was caught, torn between twisted family ties, unsettling revelations, and the chaos of the streets. What was real? What was a lie? The city throbbed around them, every heart racing, every breath heavy with uncertainty. And as the figure came into focus, a resonating gasp echoed through the crowd, leaving Carter staring, gut clenching, at the face of someone he thought had vanished, someone he should have never seen again. Carter stood there, heart racing, staring into the shadows, grappling with familiar but unfamiliar emotions as the figure stepped forward. The smoke twisted, revealing a woman he thought he'd lost forever. His mother. Mom? The word tumbled out of him, barely a whisper amidst the chaos. His mind raced. Thoughts collided. Confusion, anger, shock. How was she here? Why did she come back now? Carter, Her voice cracked, eyes darting around, but her gaze anchored on Kyle, fierce and protective. I didn't want you to find out this way. What way? He yelled, the noise around them fading into a distant hum. What do you mean? Kyle kicked into high gear, seizing the moment. This is all a setup, a game. She's not who you think she is, Carter. She's been playing both sides. His heart pounded, rage bubbling. Shut up. You don't know anything about her. But the shock on Kyle's face was undeniable, and it sickened Carter to think about the truth lurking beneath the surface. Carter, listen to me, his mother pleaded, stepping forward, desperation pooling in her expression. I never wanted to hurt you. None of this was planned. The crowd held its breath, the night still around them. Leela and her brother exchanged looks, confusion etched in their features. Is she really your mother? Leela asked, uncertainty hovering over her voice. Yes, Carter spat, but his heart sank, doubts creeping in. No, this can't be happening. He turned back to her. Why did you leave? I had to protect you, she shouted over the rising chaos. Your father! Before she could finish, a deafening boom ripped through the air. A second explosion, different this time, shaking the ground beneath them. People screamed, scattering like leaves in a tempest. Carter's instincts kicked in again. He grasped his mother's hand, dragging her back as debris began to rain down. Metal, glass, parts of a shattered reality. Get down! Kyle shouted, but the words blended with the roar of confusion. Cheryl stumbled into view, her eyes wide with fear. Carter! Mom! We've got to move! She reached them, panic written across her features. She looked like a deer caught in headlights. Leave me! I'm not safe, his mother cried, pulling away. It felt twisted, the sound of her voice threading through layers of pain and realization. What are you talking about? Carter shouted, not wanting to accept the unraveling truth. You're safe now. Not if he finds me. She pointed shakily behind him, where shadows twisted ominously. Carter turned just in time to see a figure emerging. A tall man, shrouded in darkness, stepping through the smoke like a ghost. He wore a familiar suit. It was Carter's father, his expression a mask of fury, twisted with despair. Get away from her! He barked the command, eyes seething with betrayal. You brought my family into danger, you freak! Dad, stop! Carter yelled, body tense with fear. The realization dawned. Everything was connected in twisted, painful knots. His mother's past spun against his father's power, tangled in love and anger. But just then, the ground shook again, a shockwave surging as the figure of the man took a step closer, his face resolute and cold. You don't even know the half of it, do you? Tension crackled like electricity, ready to burst. It's time for secrets to come out, the man said, voice low and menacing. Your family's legacy spans beyond all you've known, Carter. And it all leads to this night. Carter's heart thundered in his chest as the crowd drew nearer, hushed whispers growing louder. He glanced between his parents, confusion echoing in every breath. What could possibly connect them? What hidden truths waited to be unearthed? He felt his mother's hand slip from his grip, horror painting her face. You can't let him do this, Carter! But it was too late. The shadows merged, and in that single instant, everything he thought he knew shattered like glass, scattering around him in jagged fragments. "Mom!" he yelled, despair gripping him. "Carter!" she screamed again, but the noise of the sirens and chaos swallowed her voice whole, leaving him stranded, in a moment frozen by raw realization. What did that man know? And more importantly, what did Carter not know about himself? Carter stood there, heart racing, watching the chaos unfold. His mother, Kyle's smirking face, and Cheryl's terrified eyes were all jumbled together in a mix of confusion and desperation. The man advancing toward them, the shadows swirling around him, was like a storm gathering strength. "Enough!" Carter finally shouted, his voice resonating through the chaos. Instinct kicked in. He couldn't let this happen. He stepped forward, choosing this moment to shed the weight of the past. "We're done hiding, all of us!" His words hung in the air like an unyielding challenge. The crowd stilled, breaths caught, eyes wide, locked onto him. His heart thudded against his rib cage. Was he ready for this? Did he really grasp the truth of his lineage? The tangled threads that bound them all? "Mom, please tell me it's true," he urged, searching her gaze, desperate for a real answer. "Tell me who I really am!" She grabbed his wrist, shaking her head with wild intensity. "You don't want this! You can't trust him!" Her eyes darted to Kyle. The fear there was palpable. Before she could pull him back, Kyle stepped closer. "The truth is messy, Carter! Your father is the reason for all this. He's the one protecting secrets, a legacy of corruption that he wants to maintain." But it wasn't Kyle that shook him. It was the way his mother flinched at his words. A silence thickened. The tension was electric, tangible. The crowd leaned in, hungry for the truth. "Just tell us what happened," Lila cried, her brother beside her, eyes flickering between everyone. Their urgency snapped the moment. Carter took a deep breath, pushing through the constriction in his chest. "I'm tired of living in the shadows. Who's controlling what? Who am I supposed to be?" "Carter!" Cheryl stepped forward, tears in her eyes. "This is bigger than ourselves. We need to join together if we're going to confront your father." "Stop!" shouted the dark figure as they stepped further into the light. "You think you understand everything? You're playing with fire." In that moment of upheaval, sirens echoed closer. Lights blared behind them, ready to drown them in chaos. The weight of the past collided with the urgency of the present. Everyone around them held their breath, waiting. Would this be the moment they all finally broke free? "Enough!" Carter declared, raising his voice above the chaos. "If we're going down, let's go down together." And just like that, everything snapped into clarity. Hands clasped together. His mother, Cheryl, Leela, her brother. People who had once felt like strangers now pulsed with a shared purpose. "Let's end this," Carter said, nodding at everyone. They stepped closer, fusing their strength. The world melted away, leaving only the heartbeat of truth. The truth of a legacy fraught with betrayal, pain, and a chance for redemption. Carter turned to his father, who loomed like a dark iceberg in their sea of chaos. "You can't control this anymore. It's time for the past to stand up." Everything seemed to slow. And in that unbearable moment, everything hung on a knife's edge. The sirens wailed, and Carter faced his father, the shadow behind the curtains of his life. The ground rumbled beneath them. Tension crackled like static. They were all in the storm now. "Carter!" his mother cried, reaching out but not touching him. "Don't!" But it was too late. They were all in it together. A power surged in him. "Let's change the narrative," he declared, raising his voice. "This is our story now." A final explosion rocked the city, a thunderous reminder. And in that split second, Carter understood. It wasn't just about his family or her art. It was about all of them. As he braced for what would come next, for the crescendo of truth to hit, the scene swirled and blurred, leaving the edges of their fates hanging like unturned pages. The night held secrets still, and as the sirens continued to sound, one truth remained clear. It was only just beginning. You have to subscribe now. Smash that like button. Your support fuels our stories. Flood the comment section. What do you think will happen next? Share this video instantly with at least 5 friends who need to see this ending. Don't wait even a second longer. Join us on this journey.